It's a cool autumn day on the 10th anniversary of 9/11 here in Liberty State Park, New Jersey, and a group of cyclists are preparing for the day's ride. But this isn't your typical bicycle tour. For these riders, success is defined by something more than crossing the finish line. These cyclists are American war veterans, wounded warriors who've sacrificed dearly for their country.
I was a gunner, a dart gunner on Chinook helicopters in Afghanistan, and during one of our missions, our deliverance missions, we took an RPG, and that's how my below-the-knee amputation occurred right there on the side.
None of these soldiers knew what to expect from life after their devastating injuries, but there was one thing they were all sure of. Life for them would never be the same.
At first, it was kind of like, you know, I'm injured, I'm missing my leg now, and the biggest concern was about getting out in the community and what people are going to look at you differently and what they're going to be asking you all the time, you know, what happened to you or how'd you lose your leg?
But then that was before they met John Warden, a former pro cyclist and founder of Ride to Recovery, a peer-to-peer therapy program that improves the health and wellness of injured veterans through cycling.
The thing that's great about peer-to-peer therapy that works is the context. Everybody knows they have a shared experience, whether they were in Iraq or Afghanistan, they've served in the military, they've been wounded, they've gone through the system. For someone that's outside that group, it's hard for us to relate to what they're going through or what they have to deal with. It's one thing for me to say, as a guy who never really served in the military, hey, you know, this could be, you know, this should help you, or I can give you advice on some experience that you've had. Unless you've walked in their shoes, you really don't have the ability to do that.
Warden's first Ride to Recovery challenge was in 2008, with just 14 riders pedaling from Washington, D.C. to Charlotte, North Carolina. Since then, his program has grown exponentially, culminating with today's ride, a 530-mile, 8-day tour that will visit 3 cities forever linked by 9/11. Liberty State Park in the shadow of New York's Ground Zero, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, site of downed Flight United 93, and Washington, D.C., home of the Pentagon. Featuring 350 riders, it's the largest Ride to Recovery event to date.
Riding in the 9/11 10th anniversary bike ride with Ride to Recovery, it really means a lot, just to show that not only as citizens of the United States and our service members, that to show that no matter what happens to us, we're always going to get back up and keep on pushing forward.
Juan Carlos Hernandez had dreams of making the military his career. He was only 22 years old when his aircraft was hit with a rocket-propelled grenade while conducting nighttime aerial missions in the valleys of Afghanistan.
So we were flying through, we were about, I don't know, about 500 meters away from our LZ where we were going to do our delivery. I heard a big loud bang and a big flash. First thing that went through my mind, it was like, oh, we got hit. So I tried to get up and I could not feel anything below my waist. It took about 45 minutes for the medevac helicopter to come through and evacuate me out to a safe zone.
Juan Carlos was stabilized, and within a week, he was flown to the States. But his lower right leg was so badly injured that it required a below-the-knee amputation and a high-tech prosthetic. Then, while in therapy at the Center for the Intrepid, his therapist told him about Ride to Recovery. Spurred by their excitement, Juan Carlos joined his first ride, a nearly 400-mile tour within 6 months of his injury.
There's no other better therapy than I could have thought of than riding a bike, and which is funny because a lot of people ask me, how can you do that for 100 miles a day? And it's like, well, it's better than you think. It helps a lot with the mental health and the emotional issues as well.
Now 24, Juan Carlos Hernandez is still on active duty, although he expects to be medically retired when he'll continue his college education. And although injuries like Juan's may be visible reminders of war, there are plenty you can't see.
If you met me today, I guess you wouldn't be able to tell. People who knew me before know me after. I'm a different person.
Captain Greg Amira suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury after retrieving bodies from the rubble of the World Trade Center and a tour of duty in Iraq.
I guess the Trade Center was my was my getting ready for Iraq PTSD. I have daydreams while I'm awake. I'll have flashbacks, a smell, the lights, something might set it off.
Captain Amira is also the only person ever who's been 100% disabled by Social Security and deployed to a combat zone in a combat role.
Everybody declared me 100% disabled. Social Security, New York State Workers' Comp, private long-term disability insurance, and that was that. 2 years of full medical treatments, pulmonologists and orthopedists and psychiatrists and psychologists, and many sleepless nights, but bike riding was my therapy.
A sentiment shared by Bob Delaney, Ride to Recovery motivational speaker and author of the book Surviving the Shadows. Delaney advocates peer-to-peer therapy as the first line of defense in the battle against post-traumatic stress.
So my belief is that cops need to talk to cops, firefighters to firefighters, soldiers to soldiers, combat spouses to combat spouses, and combat moms and dads to combat moms and dads, because they're going through something unique and they have a similar experience. And by sharing their feelings with each other, they're validating their feelings and also allowing the air to come out of their balloon.
And on the day I pedaled alongside these wounded warriors, by ride's end, everyone seemed to forget about their injuries, because with every struggle, there's a smile not far behind, and with every road, a new friend to guide the way. For these brave men and women, normal is simply being part of a team again.